want to shift focus a little bit, and crypto now has become enough of a mature asset that it actually has indices, right? And the next challenge for us, and the next idea for us to sort of think about is, would you trade a crypto index? Would you create your own? How about, maybe you guys want to create, top 3 coins that you would trade an index. That would be I think a really interesting idea as a challenge for either one of you guys. What do you think, Peter? What if I said to you, I know that there's a crypto index. There's few of them, and if you like those, certainly share those with me. Or you could create a customized idea of your own as your next trade. What would that be?
I mean, in terms of ETFs, indexes, etc., it's great in that it's getting like you said earlier. The entry to the crypto market is still quite a technical and difficult thing for a lot of people, and it puts a lot of people off. So at the moment, it's kind of a way of giving people exposure to crypto markets where they feel like it's perhaps lower risk. They've got it's easier for them to get involved, and ultimately, the more people getting involved in crypto, obviously, the better it is for the crypto market as things continue to grow, as we have the network effect, etc. In terms of having looked at it myself and creating them myself, I'll have a look at some trades that we've got down here. So I'm looking at the crypto 10. Let me just see. Let me share a screen with you.
Is the crypto 10 the top 10? Is that the one, Marcus? Is that crypto 10? Is it
so that's top 10. Yeah, it's pretty much an index pricing off the top 10 by market cap. So it's a great way to generally passively look into taking advantage of that top 10 who usually move in sync. But like I'm saying before, it's there is still some minor gains and sort of changes in between that as well. We saw Luna shoot up from, I think, number 12 to number 7 in the last month. So there's still ways to passively put in those trades as well.
Right. I was going to ask you, does it get when does the index, is it continuous? Does it get priced once a day? In other words, let's say a coin goes from 11 to 10 during the day. Is it literally at the moment that it goes, its market cap goes to top 10 in the world, that it is then included in the index? How is it? I'm just because
essentially, I think it's refactored daily. But the good thing about that is if something went from 11 to 10, I think the amount that the way that it's sort of weighted in the index wouldn't really be too much different to what was previously number 10. So it's not something shoots up and it's just going to disrupt the whole price because of the weighting in it. So yeah, I think it is a much, generally speaking, steadier weight.
Is it a market? Is it a market weighted index? So in other words, the largest cap has the largest percentage component of that index. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so it is market weighted, but there are sort of some caveats to that. So it's not just a large amount of it's just Bitcoin, because then you're pretty much passively trading Bitcoin. So it's market weighted, but not purely. So it can essentially capture greater movement in, spots 3 to 10 instead of just being a Bitcoin ETH index, which is an interesting idea. But essentially trying to spread that across the top 10 market cap.
Yeah, essentially, it's another example, by the way, where crypto or DeFi, as you talk about, can be so far advanced of everybody else. Because my whole idea of instantaneous, perpetual, constantly updated index is only possible in crypto, where all prices are continuous 24 hours a day, versus old-fashioned just stock indices, which are always settled based upon exchange-based hours, and therefore have all sorts of lags. I mean, the greatest example of that we've seen is, of course, the Russian index, where a lot of investors, went to sleep on Thursday trying to price their Russian assets and woke up, Friday having no idea whether they're at zero or any kind of value, probably for the next months ahead. That's a kind of a thing that crypto totally avoids by being a continuously pricing asset, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's good too, because it's literally just like ETFs in a way. I think especially for DeFi, that's where sort of, if I was to sort of trade this sort of challenge, it's I think something like DeFi, which there's numerous DeFi protocols and they all work in different ways, and their value is going to be scaling not as obviously there's still the whole crypto market's going to move them, but they sort of work in their own ways. So like something like the DeFi 25 index is good because, I'm not going to look at the top 25 and find the one who's, tanking the most and make moves off that. If I'm on DeFi Pulse or something like that, and I see the total value locked in DeFi is decreasing, or you can literally trade the total value that's locked in DeFi, you can pretty much passively put that into the DeFi index instead of finding, a certain proportion of that movement's in Aave or one of these protocols.
Right.
And you can just passively or proxy in that trade.
Yeah.
I think that's a really useful one. And that's kind of where I'm sitting in terms of shorting, I think, a DeFi index or something right now. We keep seeing a record high of liquidations in the last 2 months. And I think we're seeing a lot of people that are new to that community that we're seeing these great yields in 2021, doing all this yield farming, promising 100, 200, 300, +% returns, who aren't realizing that there is a huge risk of impermanent loss there. It's not like a bank account where you're just getting this percentage return and that's it. If the balance of the two assets you're, essentially putting liquidity into the pool for sort of change, or there's disparity there, then the value for investment isn't going to keep pace with any rises in the underlying assets. So a lot of these people coming in wanting 1,000% yield, not really understanding the fundamentals of it, and now getting burned in the last 2 months. And that's where we're going to see, like I talked about before, true value come out, because a lot of the, I guess, newbie sort of liquidity farmers might get pushed out of the market and lose confidence in DeFi. So that's why I'm sort of still thinking there is probably a short move on DeFi over the next few months whilst we see the true protocols, shine through.
Right. That's a really, really interesting speculative idea. So there's like two things that I think are fascinating from this point of view. One is, if you're just a passive investor and you certainly don't have the skills or the knowledge or the research to be able to invest into any individual protocol, buying a basket makes imminent sense. It's just like buying an ETF. But conversely, if you're a speculator and you have this thesis that there's going to be a compression, but again, you don't know which of these protocols are really going to blow up the worst, then making a broad basket bet on the whole index is probably an intelligent trade to, on a speculative side as well. So it offers kind of an interesting value to both investors and speculators, specifically because of its diversification. And therefore you don't have to be, you don't have to be right on any one particular idea to be right about the idea, which is kind of interesting. So I guess, Peter, from your perspective, the top 10 is what you like. Do you want to take a look at the charts? You want to see how that looks to you on the charts, or is there anything else that catches your eye on the indices?
One moment.
Take your time.
Let's have a look. Share screen. Sorry, I'm just trying to work. How am not able to share my screen for some reason?
Okay, we'll see if the producer.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there we are. I've got it. One. Share screen. Chrome tab.
That's okay. We're looking at your cool neon sign in the background, anyway. So it's very, very soothing. The house of
like
crypto.
Nightclub. The nightclub.
I feel exactly. I feel like, I don't know if it's a trading room or a nightclub.
Okay, so looking at the crypto 10.
Yeah, crypto 10.
Okay, so this is on the 5-minute chart. We can see that we're having sort of these lower highs getting put in here. And as well as that, kind of like the bottoms, also the lows are sort of starting to balance out. So we could draw, if I knew how to draw a wedge on this. No.
Yeah, use that line. That's fine.
Okay, so what I'm looking at is we're getting lower high, lower high, lower high. And then this last one is likely, as we can see it narrowing towards the bottom, it would make a nice point here. Right. We are going to have to make a decision at some point. So if it's come out and breaking up to this point here, what I expect is that it's going to come back down and retest the top of this wedge, and that's when I'd look to open a buy order with my sort of take profits on the way up. So it's always good to take profits as you go through, with like perhaps 2 or 3 take profits, because as soon as you're in decent enough profit, you can always move your stop loss to break even. So if you're taking profits on the way, you're always going to be not always, but more often than not, taking money out of the market rather than holding on for dear life and then losing it as it goes.
bye.